What's up, everybody? It's your favorite Black Cat's favorite nerd, and today we are looking at Takara Tomy Masterpiece Shadow Panther. This is on loan to me from John Garringer. He's got a YouTube channel as well. He does a lot of rants and stuff. He's always been decent to me, so I suggest you give him a look. Now look, there's some paint issues with this guy, and I'm not going to press my luck because it doesn't belong to me. We'll talk about him, though, as we go through because it's worth discussing. And with that, let's get started with accessories. You get two additional cat heads, and they're fairly similar with the exception of the eye emotions. And then inside, you can swap out the piece just like... Oh, this fright is the... Oh. That's still not okay. You get these two things, one's for robot and one's for cat mode. They're a chrome finish, they look nice. I think there's some sort of communicator or something. I don't entirely know exactly. And to be honest with you, I don't 100% care. But you get them, and they're actually done nice enough. The cat one clips in right here into the side of the bicep. Now this little one here that he has for bot mode clips around the bicep as well. However, this is all painted. I'm not gonna chip it, so we're not gonna take a look at it. But that's where it goes. You get two additional face sculpts similarly to that you did with Cheetor. Nice silver paint on there, red eyes and such. And then you get the mask that looks really cool, the nice chrome finish and sculpt. He comes with the same gun as Cheetor, so we have the silver paint here. We have a very subtle dark metallic paint added to this. It's on the bot as well, and we'll talk about it when we get there, but it's on the ring here, this middle piece here, and then the piping in there, and it looks really good. He holds it just fine. And to transform it, once again, you gotta get your thumb in this little special spot, so to speak. Flip that back, flip the barrel in, flip this down, flip that down, and it's ready to tuck in the belly. He also comes with this toy gun that has the paint on it that we'll talk about in a bit. I thought it was dry brushing at first. It looks like dry brushing real quick, right? Don't worry about it, we'll get to it. And the handle is right there, and he kind of sort of holds that just about as well as Cheetor did. Not great. You can, of course, transform it back into the tail by extending the handle, flipping this piece down, flipping the barrel up, spinning it 180, flipping the barrel back down, untabbing these two pieces from the top, spinning them around, and then these two sections rotate about 90 degrees to form the flank of the cat. Now let's talk about the figure. So the head is on a hinge, obviously, up here. It does have a light piping feature in the back, and as well as this whole kind of alternate design, if you prefer that. The light piping, you know how I feel about that. It has no place on Masterpiece Transformers, in my opinion. You have yellow paint on the side, which is done well, especially considering it's not done well everywhere else, but we'll get there. We have metallic fleck paint for the gray, and then we have a little bit of, like, the eyes are painted black, like it's like the red, but there's something off on that eye. Like, they're not right. I don't know if you can see, there's a little smudge in the corner of that one, and it's not on that one. I'm not sure which one is intentional. All right, so then we have the metallic flecked plastic here, and that's it for the torso. Then we have this paint that looks like dry brushing. We'll talk about that more when we get into cat mode. Oh no, there's the metallic fleck paint down in there too, in the flank. So that's cool. You do have waist swivel, so that's good. And you have, I guess you can kind of cheat that for a pose, but that's not really intentional as part of the transformation. Speaking of the transformation, I'm obviously going to go from robot to cat since the last time we did it from cat to robot, and if they repaint this thing again, I don't have to show it, which is nice. For the shoulders, they're done really well, just as well as they were done for the other one, obviously. But you have this hinge here that gets you all the way up, like Fat Joe and Remy Martin. You have yellow paint done here. It is chipping in certain places, so I'm being careful. Be mindful of yours. There's a bicep swivel, and then we have the metallic fleck gray there. We have a double hinged elbow that gets you a great run. We have silver paint on the forearms and hands. However, I think it has stuck this hand because this should swivel here at the wrist like this one does, and I'm not comfortable pushing it. There's also a hinge in and out on the hand, and that one is really tight too, so I'm not pushing that a whole lot either. And then the fingers are on a base pin knuckle, so that's all good, but freeing this one up, I'm not taking responsibility for that. So he's gonna have to sort that out himself. We also have, with the shoulder joint,
is on a hinge down here at the bottom, so you can get the shoulders a little bit more inward or outward if you need it for a picture or a pose or something. And then it also swivels where it plugs in, which gets you a butterfly joint. And I said that was really done well on Cheetor. It continues to be done well on Shadow Panther. The eyes, the red eyes look good on the chest. We have the silver, that looks good on the pelvis. We have universal joints for the hips. They get you way beyond the full Van Damme. And the full Monty. So no issues nor complaints in that regard. You have this metallic flecked paint once again on the thigh covers. It looks great. Every time they've added this color throughout this figure, it looks fantastic. And then we have a thigh swivel just above the knee. The yellow on right above the knees is dodgy at best. Without a doubt, the sloppiest masterpiece paint I've ever seen in my life. The worst. And then we have the metallic fleck paint down here on the joint of the knee, which is a nice touch. The knee joint gets you 90 degrees on a single ball hinge. It's actually a disc hinge, but that's fine. And then we have silver paint throughout and a little black paint on the spikes. That looks good. And for the ankles, you get a tilt down, but it's mainly on the foot. The heel spur is on its own hinge, so you can kind of make that correspond. And you get a slightest bit of an ankle tilt up. It is a very tight joint on this one, not so much on this one. So there is a lot of joint inconsistencies throughout. Some of these joints are really loose, like up in here. Some of them are really tight to the extreme, like this one that doesn't even move. We also have an ankle rocker on both. That's really, really, really well done. I was a big fan of that before. And then the back of it cleans up fairly well, given that there's two huge cat arms on them. So, yeah, I think all in all, it's a pretty cool deco of the figure. And I like the transformation, so let's go ahead and show that. But first, we'll take a look at a few size comparisons. There he is with MP10, a masterpiece car, so about the same size there. Catwoman, one of these big-eyed cat things my daughters love. And the Black Cat, except no substitutes. All right, so let's get him transformed. I've already loosened this connection just so it didn't make me look an idiot on camera. Open that up, extend the waist, bring the assembly here up, which as you remember is on a double hinge till this piece sits flat, and then spin the heads around. On a double hinge, rock your forearm panels forward on both sides. Break the shoulder connection, which is a little like, happens easier than you would think. And then you want to move the top elbow joint to the top of the bicep and spin the bicep 180 degrees. That one moves a lot smoother. With both arms facing the back, you then move at this joint at the bottom of the initial shoulder joint to bring both in to the inside, and it tends to flop about a bit. And then connect the two panels on the forearms that make up the back of the cat. On the back of the figure, split the arm backpack. It's a long peg, be careful. And even with listening to my own advice after the final thoughts, transforming it back, I managed to shear off the peg. So I can't stress enough, be careful. If it feels like it's stuck, don't force it. Take the time, get some hot water or a hot air gun or a hair dryer or driver or flyer and heat it up a bit and loosen it and get it out safely. I had to call John, apologize. He was very cool about it, but it's just something you don't want it to go through. Don't break your toys. I did that, so hopefully you won't have to go through that. And rotate them around and then adjust the shoulder joints. Then hinge the head back and tuck it in. Then lastly, fold this piece up. And I always end up pushing the cat head in when I'm doing that, and then put the cat arms next to it. Break the hip connection. Open this cover on the shin. Tuck the foot up. Fold the heel down. Bring the cat paw out. And tuck the knee in. Once again, shield cover open. Bring the foot up. Tuck it into location. Put the heel back in. Bring the cat paw out, tuck the knee pad in. Slide this out and flip it down. So at this point, if you recall from Cheetor, spin 180, tab in, bring the legs up, spin them down 180. And lastly, tuck in the gut by taking the round piece underneath the rib cage and then plugging in the tab. I'll clean it up, we'll take a look at it. And there he is in cat mode. And I think it looks fine. I think maybe the black helps hide some of the gappiness that was really present with Cheetor that kind of killed it for me. But yeah, I think it's a good looking kind of cat. It has this, I thought it was at first glance, this dry brushing. I told you I'd talk more about this, but it's not. It's digitally applied. It's to look like fur, but it just looks like, I mean, from a first glance, it looks a lot like dry brushing, but it's fine, I suppose. I'm not sure it does exactly what they think it's supposed to have done in terms of the illusion. I've got silver paint on the paws, but whatever. It's good enough. I think maybe they should have done the whole thing in it. I don't know if maybe that would have been too much, but it doesn't look like fur. That's my point. So articulation wise, it's the same as Cheetor, right? But you can extend the head, move it around, up and down with the clowns from out of town. You got a hinge here, and then a swivel at the end of the hinge. And does it swivel? No, and then a hinge inside to get up, down. A little loose. But, yeah. And then you have the jaw that can close, of course. Good grief, and then that's really tight. And then for the arms, we have a swivel here, hinge out here, swivel here, hinge at the elbow, hinge at the ankle. Same for the other side. You do get a little bit of a wiggle in the torso there. It's not enough to really write home about, but it's there. You got a hinge at the hips. You got a swivel, so that acts as a universal. You have the knee here, and then you have an additional knee underneath, so it's like a double jointed knee. This one goes back, this one goes forward. And then you have the hinge at the ankle, and then another hinge there for the foot. So all that's cool. And then hinge, hinge. So yeah, I mean, it's business as usual, but I do think the black helps hide a lot of the openness and gappiness of it, and then at the same token, I think that, it's just not. Oh, you have a swivel here for the foot too for a rocker. That it's not that this gray paint, this attempt at fur. I don't think it's that's subjective, of course, but I don't think it's successful. Final thoughts wise, I have a few negatives, and they are the yellow paint is dodgy at best. This figure has a lot of paint on it, and with a lot of paint comes a lot of sacrifices. That's true for all, but this yellow paint is in rough shape. I wish it turned into a dog so I could have said rough shape. Am I right? I know what they were going for with this look of fur on the figure itself, but I don't think it works whatsoever. I don't find it to be believable. It just looks like paint smudges throughout the cat. I think they should have gone for it and done the whole thing that way, or maybe gone with the metallic fleck design, because that looks great throughout. And lastly, the last thing I need to talk about are the joint inconsistencies. Some are far too tight, some are far too loose, and there are very few that are in that sweet spot in the middle. That's something they really need to be mindful of. That can create unpleasant experiences for all products. I've been noticing it more and more with them, and they need to be mindful of it. With the exception of the yellow paint, the rest of the paint is done beautifully. The articulation works like a champ. The engineering is interesting and intuitive. Materials feel fairly good. It's just like it's very rickety because of how tight some of the joints are. Also, I want to say that if you angle this gun handle there, it will sit in a bit more secure. I love the accessories, including this silver option for the mask. I think it's a more interesting looking character design, and I think it suits the kind of the color scheme a bit better as well. There's no hardware in it per se, but the joints are so damn tight that you probably don't need it, and the price is relative because I don't have any interest in this. I'm not sure what someone should pay for something like this, but it's fine. It's fine. It's a soft recommend from me, just because of how frustrating some of the joints are. And that could be an individual results will vary thing. I'm willing to admit that, but I can only judge off what I'm looking at. So thanks to John for letting me take a look at it. Would you look at it? And thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Until next time, take care.